Hello and welcome. We're going to be embarking on this journey together simply because I couldn't find any good information on how to take one of these apart, diagnose it, what to watch out for, and common issues that I've encountered so far with these Ford Ranger, Ford Explorer transfer cases. This is a BW1354, and the issue that I encountered was that under torque, this transfer case, when I got on the gas in about second gear, would skip out of four-wheel drive, send all the power to the rear wheels, and in our Canadian Canucky-stan winters, that flings you in more donuts than I'd feel comfortable eating in one sitting. So, this is your transfer case. This is the internals. Nothing too scary. Nothing that needs to be timed. Where we're going to start, this is the view you're going to get the second you split the case. You just unbolt it. It's not rocket science. There's 1,000,001 people who have removed these transfer cases, and there's a lot of good information on how to quickly just flop a new one on there, which honestly I can't afford right now, which brings us to this. So, you're thinking you may have the same issue. I would start with quickly checking your electronics. There's some good information on that. I might post some links. And I also, these things are known notoriously for having a shift motor. I think the failure mode is this doesn't know how to locate itself. There's an electric stop, and then it stops knowing how to locate itself, and it just, that or the motor wears out. There's a couple different failure modes on these shift motors. They can be nasty. So before you get yourself all concerned, I would have a look into diagnosing that. There's a lot of good information on your shift motors not working. Anyways, so we've ruled out electronics. We've ruled out our shift motor. Now what? Oh, well, you can buy a transfer case. I would recommend not doing that from Ford. Here in Canada, I think my best supplier is Rock Auto at $1,200, and then some cores and some shipping, and it's just a big hassle. So I have some time off, so I figured, why not? So we are inside of our transfer case, and the first thing you are going to see, or the first thing that I would look at, is your chain tension. You want to make sure this is nice and tight. Now, it might have a little bit of slop right here, right now. If you're coming inside of it and it's a high mileage unit, I'd buy a chain, some bearings, a pump, or just a new transfer case. Anyways, so your chain might have a little bit of slop because you're not anchoring the top your top two shafts here, which will pull it apart, bringing your chain into a nice tension. The second thing you're going to be looking at right away is your magnet. Mine is not there at the moment. It's wrapped up in a piece of paper towel, but you're going to be looking for chunks, big chunks. You're going to be checking this guy, your filter, for again, chunks, big chunks. If you have other nasty failures, your pickup tube can sometimes get yanked off, because what will happen is this tab will break for your pump, or if you have a weep from what looks like a hole here, or this seam here, or the back, it'll be your pump has worn. Sorry, I'm doing this on my phone because that's what we got. But you have this will wear into the case ruining your case. If anyone has a really good solution for that, that would be really awesome. This is going to be another future problem when it's not winter and freezing cold out. So, how your 4x4 works, this is your, down here is your low range. How your 4x4 engages is with this cam. Before you go yanking things apart and so how to take this apart without breaking stuff, ask me how I know, this spring comes off, gets sorted into the pile, filed. Okay, this shift collar comes off, this shaft comes up, you rotate the whole assembly over to the side and pull up. Focus, 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 and you pull this gently straight up. If you don't pull it straight up, this little tiny tab on the bottom gets sheared right off. Gone. 70 bucks. Oh, found our magnet. So, yeah, don't just, oh yeah, I can just get the shift fork off. Don't do that. If we come back to it, I might make a video on how to replace it. It's pretty simple. You just rewind the spring. There's actually a board manual for a BW1356 or a 1350. BW1350. There's a Ford bulletin on how to, on how to disassemble this very similar case, and how to rewind the spring installed in your new cam. If anyone's running into that problem, I am no expert, and we're all learning here, but I'd walk you through what I did and tell you if it works or not. So how your system works is this cam rotates, rides the shift, your tang on your shift fork collar up here, raising your shift fork up onto your shaft, locking it onto the shaft. Okay? Easy. This is splined to the shaft. This is not splined to the shaft. So, what we are doing is locking this part to this part by raising this. See if we can, there we go. That is your 4x4 is engaged. So, the problem that I found, or I'm doing my best here, sorry about the jiggling, but the problem that I noticed is that we have wear right here. It doesn't take a lot. Sorry, focus, focus. It doesn't take a lot. But if you combine this wear with the wear on inside of your shift fork or your lock collar, you see how it's just angled a little bit? I found that to be enough to kick it out of four-wheel drive. So when you get on the gas and it goes zzz, thunk, and it's just a clunk, when I get off the gas, what happens is it locks right back up again the second you're off the gas. So this is not your motor, sorry, focus, focus. This is not your motor just kicking it out. One thing you'd want to watch out for is that your motor isn't fully engaging this, so you're only coming up halfway up the cam. That would mean that you're only getting partial engagement on your collar, thereby not giving it enough meat to fully grab onto. Kicking it, meaning when you get all those vibrations coming through the shaft, all those little torque impulses, that you're going to have problems. So again, check, selected in four-wheel drive, check that it comes all the way over. Easy? Easy. Cool. So, from there, we will be, what I found the problem to be this collar kicking out. But how this thing operates is that sorry, I got working with one hand here. So again, don't break it. I'm going to put you down for a second. Okay, so in here is a big spring of a thing. To take it out, what you're going to do is you're going to get your flat-headed screwdriver. Going to get it right in these tabs. So you can either get it in here and work it in with another one. I found the easiest way to do it just like that. Just prying it over. You can do it with your hands. Boom, we're up. Okay, so there's a big spring. So when you're engaging this, it's coming up, and then so this is to make sure that it engages smoothly and you're not, what's the word I'm looking for, loading up and releasing all this torque, shock loading it. You're not shock loading it by just forcing it up there when things are spinning in different speeds. It'll give you a little bit of forgiveness, because we all know with electronics and motors doing this, high torque motors, twisting cams and such, there's not a lot of forgiveness. So this is forgiveness. Also, it lets them get away with using a plastic shift fork. You don't have to ask me how I feel about those. But what would happen is the spring would get sprung and it would kick out. So it would push in and it would go in too far. Sorry. Let me use my words better here. So let me see if I can show you here. What would happen is it would do this while it's engaged here, while it's on the shaft and locked up. So this is disengaged, but it is in the lockup position. Problem. So the biggest part in diagnosing this, look at the front of your teeth. Just focus. Focus. You see that right there? Focus. Focus. There we go. You see that little chunk taken out? Back here. No chunk taken out. That means that there is a small ramp cut into your gear. Let's see if we can get some light in there. There is a small ramp cut into that gear. And under all the vibration of this thing being torqued, it goes doink and pushes itself down and out. Easy? Cool. So, to disassemble your case further, which, I mean, if you don't have to, there's no real sense in doing. Whatever you do, don't split the bottom. Don't take the bottom off. You don't need to do that. You're just making yourself more work. And that, when you do that, you have to take the seal out anyways, the front seal from this side. You have to take the seal out to get at a snap ring to remove your planetary gear set, so there's no point. There's really no point unless you're trying to clean it, which I just take a can of brake cleaning. Give her wah. So, you pull. So first of all, you're going to take your chain off. There's a snap ring and a spacer. Don't lose it. It goes back right there. Snap ring and your spacer. This whole thing comes off. You don't have to worry about timing it. Don't have to worry about any of that. This all will figure itself out. It's fine. It's just a chain. Just transferring power. This comes off. Don't damage your seal here. I think it's a seal. You're going to have to forgive me. We're all learning here. Anyways, I will put you down and we will come back here. our chain is off. We've already checked it for looseness and give it a little jiggle test with 2 hands. Make sure your chain's not worn out. There's a lot of good information on that, and I recommend looking it up. So this, you can check your bearing really quick by giving this a spin, putting some pressure on it. You're listening for a growling sound, or a, sorry. You don't need to hear those throat noises. So your pump comes off. There's a little tab in here. There's a little a key on your shaft that turns the inside of your pump. You're going to turn that around until you see that key come out. There's your keyway right there. You're going to line those 2 up just right in here. You're watching right in here. You're going to remove your magnet. You're going to remove this. This is your pickup tube. And the whole thing comes out with a little bit of a jiggle. Jiggle, 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 and off we come. Okay? We're off. Your shift fork comes off. You're going to take this, you're going to give it a little bit of a twist and pull up. You're going to move it off to the side. Okay? This is what I'm talking about. This comes straight up. There is the tiniest little pin on the bottom here. You don't want to break that off. Very careful, gentle. And this is what I was talking about, rewinding this spring. There's a manual on it. Okay, this shift fork, you can just pick it up with the lock collar on there, take the whole thing off. You can check out these teeth in here. This is supposed to be like this. This isn't causing anything to kick out. Those little serrations there, it's like it's like inside an angle grinder, so you can't push the detent down while you're going warp 9. This is so your wife can't flick it into low range while she's going down the highway and cause the whole thing to go kapoof. You can check in here, you can have a look in here. There's really not a whole bunch to see, just make sure it's all there. If anybody knows what's going on here, I understood this to be a 6 planetary stronger case, but there's only 4. Like, it's all set up for 6, but there's only 4 planetaries or planet gears being used. So if anybody actually understands what's going on there, why they cheaped out. If I just bought I have an FX4 level 2, so should be the creme de la creme, but here we are. So I kind of feel a little gypped. So yeah, that's inside your transfer case. That is all the practical knowledge you need to know. Oh, another thing. Sorry, I lied. You're going to want to make sure you clean inside this shaft. Make sure you get, because there is a oil gallery inside of this shaft. So that is one advantage of taking. You can just take this off here. There's a little filter inside. You want to make sure that that's not all clogged full of schmoo. And you're going to want to clean, spray and brake clean in from the back there, in through all the holes, and check all your surfaces. We're talking the same thing you'd be looking on a crankshaft on a small engine. Any of the same scoring, any of the same main issues there, those are things to look out for here too. And then on the bottom you can see those tiny little, see if we'll focus here, those tiny little serrations, those makes it look like a propeller. Those are normal. Just make sure they have nice machine marks on them and they're not all just rounded over, and that there's actually some meat still to engage the tooth. Anyways, going back together is kind of like taking it apart, but in reverse. Not a lot left to say on this thing other than to put it back together and see how she works. Anyways, thank you so much for your time, and I hope this information is valuable to you if you're taking this apart for the first time or considering to take it apart and is this a job for me. I found it very cost effective to replace this. This truck only had a 172,000 kilometers on it. That is metric for all you Americans out there. So yeah, if you're tired of listening to my voice, sorry, that's not where I was going with that. Parts were fairly affordable from Ford. I think I paid $12, $54, and $23. The most expensive part being this big chunk of metal here. I will post the part numbers up if I feel so, if you're so inclined. And yeah, all these parts were pretty cheap. I bought a spring just for the sake of it. I might put a little a gauge on the spring here and see how much poundage, or sorry, words. See how much force it exerts, so you can test whether compared to an OEM and whether your spring is worn out or not. I'll measure. I'll throw some measurements up in the doobly-doo or down in the comments there for your spring, so you can know if it's sprung its last. I mean, I think I paid $10, so why the heck not? I didn't replace this. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a fork. It's just your what your fork is guided by, or your lock collar is guided by, so nothing to worry about there. I'm gonna slam this all together. I hope you guys have an awesome day. I'm gonna go out there and roll around in the snow because that's what us Canadians do when we have time on our hands. Bye.